Around 5 years ago, I went to Germany for the first time and I met the Chessbase co founder Frederick Friedel. And he is one of the very well known personalities in the world of chess who covered numerous events, has a lot of top players as his friends. And at that point, I was an IM, and he told me, Sagar, do you want to know the secret of becoming a GM and then much stronger, in your rating? And I was like very curious to know because I felt like he would share with me some secret about how to become a strong player. And he said the secret of becoming a world class player is that you have to make good moves on the chessboard. And uh, well, it was said half jokingly, but there is a lot of truth in it because if you keep making good moves on the chessboard, you're bound to do well at chess. The difficulty lies in the fact that chess is such a complex game that it's nearly impossible to keep making the best moves. However, there's this guy from Norway who seems to have listened to advice of Frederick and is just making one good move after another. It just doesn't stop. And of course, you know whom I'm talking about. It's Magnus Carlsen, who just won the Grenke Chess Classic with one round to spare. And he has pumped up his rating to 2871. Wow, this is just phenomenal. He's just 11 points away from his career high rating, which is 2882. And I see that he would break it maybe in a tournament or two to come. So let's look at his eighth round victory against Peter Svidler, in which Carlsen simply played a flawless game and try to learn from him as to how he does it. When you look at his games, you will realize that it's not so difficult what he's doing. But when you sit on the board and do it, try to do it in your games, well, it's not easy as well. So Svidler opened with e4, and as Carlsen is doing these days, he plays knight to c6, all ready to play the Sveshnikov, which is his favorite opening. Svidler says, I'm going to play knight c3. If you play knight f6, then I could play bishop b5, and this is a well-known system. Carlsen says if you're not going to play d4 here on the third move, then I'm going to stop it altogether with the move e5. And this is quite a committal decision. But the point is that although you weaken the d5 square, and also after bishop c4, this bishop is standing on this beautiful diagonal, you are stopping white from playing d4, which means that he doesn't have his usual break, and you can simply play bishop e7, knight f6, castles, and you get a fine position with a grip on this d4 square. Okay, so black continues bishop e7. Of course, you don't really want to land up into knight f6, knight g5. This would be quite embarrassing. Bishop e7, d3, d6. Just as a curiosity, I wanted to see if knight g5 works here. This is a well-known motif in the Philidor, because after bishop g5 you have this move queen to h5, attacking the bishop as well as the pawn on f7. But here it doesn't work because I go back, and after you take on f7 my king runs away. Okay, so to d6, Svidler went knight d2, and very logical idea to put the knight to f1, to e3, and then d5. And you can see how white has not castled yet, so the f1 square is still free. Knight f6, knight f1, and Carlsen also tries to maneuver his knight to d7, trying to bring it to b6, knight d5, so that knight b6 can be taken, and he took ab c3, castles, and knight to e3. So it looks like white has a very fine position. He has the knight looking to jump to d5. The bishop is very well placed, but at the same time black has things going his way. He can move his king to h8 and try for f5 break, His bishop is already very active. This rook is active down the a file, and this bishop could come to g5. So all in all, black doesn't seem to have any opening difficulties. Bishop to g5, short castles, king h8, and here this position has already been seen once in the game Anand versus Ivanchuk 2001, where bishop d2 was played by Anand, and after bishop e3 fe3, Ivanchuk went on to win with the black pieces here. Svidler played the new move a3. I think he found it on the board and it's not his preparation. And Carlsen played this very strong move f5. I like this move very much because you're opening up the position. Knight into f5. Here it's important to take bishop into c1 first. If you play bishop into f5, then I can take on g5, queen g5, ef, and after queen f5 or even rook f5, you can spot the small weakness in black's position, which is very difficult to defend, and that is queen to b3. b6 pawn is the weakness that you attack, and white is clearly better. Bishop into c1 was played, rook c1, bishop f5, ef5, and here d5, good move. Bishop went back and rook into f5. I already very much like black's position because he has these very nice central pawns. The bishop on a2 could become very passive, and well, the idea is maybe just queen d7 and bring the other rook in. Black is doing wonderfully well. So Svidler sees that he must do something very quickly. He went queen g4, and after rook f6 came the move f4. And this is what strong players usually do. They do not wait for the opportunity to arise. They grab the opportunity. And here, well, if he would have just played some passive moves, then black would have coordinated himself, and this is not what Svidler wants. So he goes f4, and after ef4 he clearly noticed that he cannot take the pawn because knight e5 attacks the queen, and after the queen moves you can take and take on d3 with a nasty fork over here. So his idea was queen g5, and his point was that he wants to take the pawn on d5 with the queen or with the bishop. So the question to you is, what should black play here? Okay, now if you just say somehow defend this pawn, then I can take on f4 because now there's no knight e5 coming with a tempo. My queen is already on g5. And d4 is a very logical move. If you found this move, I would say good job. However, it's not the best move. What Carlsen did was truly wonderful. He takes these small opportunities, and from here on you can see how the game shifts in Carlsen's favor. He first plays the move queen to f8. If you found this move, give yourself a pat on the back. It's not at all easy. You protect the f4 pawn. You disallow white from taking on d5 because of rook f5. So white must take with the queen. Once he does that, you develop your other rook with a tempo. Well, queen g5, rook d3, somehow you don't like to give up this pawn, so you go back to f3, knight joins in, queen e4. If you took on b7, then f3 is already very strong, opening up the king side. So queen e4, and here knight jumps to g4, and it's going to land on this e3 square. Rook c e1, knight to e3, it's a monster here. Rook f2, rook to e8, and he takes on b7. And here's my second question to you. You've played like Carlsen, you built up a dominating position, the knight is here, backed by the rook and the queen. How should you further strengthen your position? So it's time to get your kingside pawns rolling, and congratulations if you found the move g5, very powerful move, opening up the queen's route to h6 and also playing g4, g3. That's the idea. Rook f e2, g4, rook f2, queen h6, and now g3 is coming in, so you have to be careful. Queen to c7, rook f8. Once again threatening g3, because let's just say if it's black to move here, you can go g3, hg, fg, and you hardly have time to take this because it's mate here. Otherwise, if queen g3, then rook f2 is just winning. So h3 was played by Svidler, already desperation. Carlsen took on h3. Now, well, g2 is hanging, so g3 was played, and this end is very pretty. I think Svidler wanted to sort of dedicate this game to his opponent for playing so well. fg3, these two pawns are so powerful, and after rook into f6, h2 check, king has to go to h1. And can you do the final winning move? Can you make it? Yes, of course, g2 mate. How wonderful it feels to checkmate your opponent with these two pawns. Carlsen played a phenomenal game. I would like to congratulate him. And as you could see from the battle, the main goal for Magnus is to play one good move after another. And this is what your aim should also be as a chess player, that I want to play, keep making good moves, and then sky's the limit. Who knows, maybe Carlsen would become the first human to cross 2900 if he keeps continuing in this style. Thank you, all of you, for listening to this game. And tomorrow is the last round uh, at the Grenke Chess. And last time when Carlsen was uh, had won the tournament in Shamkir, he fought on in the last round against Grishchuk and won that game. Tomorrow he takes on MVL, so it would be interesting to see if he plays for a win here as well. This is Sagar Shah signing off.